Welcome to Sun Coaches Podcast, Season 9, and I am fired up to be joined by the head football coach at Brooks County High School, Josh McFather. Thanks for being on with me.
Well, man, thank you for having me on. It's an honor.
Man, I've known this dude literally since he was a little guy. I worked for his dad in 2002 and 2001, 2002, around in there at Lanier County. He's a coach's kid. A lot of people in his family coach. Got an uncle that was a very, very well-known basketball coach in South Georgia. I know most of his family's from Cuthbert, but as a coach's kid, I don't know what he claims is your hometown, because I know you've been a lot of places. Where did you actually end up graduating from high school?
All right. So being a coach's kid, you move a lot. I ended up graduating from Randolph Clay, which I love. I only spent 1 year there, but that's kind of what I call home, because no matter where we lived in the state, we always went home to Cuthbert for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, over the summers. And so I lived in Cuthbert from the time I was born until I was 6. My dad was like an assistant coach at Randolph Clay. Then we went up to Henry County High School up in McDonough. We spent 3 years there. His first 2 years, I think he was the OC. And then in his third year, I believe, he got the head job there. And that was really cool because he was with Eric Soliday. So being at Brooks, I've coached against Casey Soliday a few times. And so being able to talk to him, and, like I remember going to Eric's and Casey's house because Casey was on staff up there as well, and playing with their kids and all of that. So that's kind of cool. And then we moved down to Lanier County. I think it was 2000, 2001, somewhere in there. I remember you living right up the road from us and me riding my scooter up to your house and playing Nintendo and all of those things and just having a good time. But gosh, I guess it was end of 2008, maybe 2009, early 2009. My dad got let go from Lanier. And coaching, you either have been fired or you're going to get fired. So that ends up happening. And then we went back home to Cuthbert, and he spent 8 years there. I did 1 year my senior year, and then moved back over to go to Valdosta State and get married and have a kid and all of those things.
So what all did you play in high school? Was you just football, or did you play other things
I played football and basketball. I didn't play basketball at Randolph Clay, but I played it at Lanier. And I played tennis as well, just to kind of get out of school. That was one of those good excuses to let's get out of class and go, eat some Zaxby's or something and go play tennis. But I played basketball there for David Ward. I don't know if you remember David Ward, but he had moved over from Seminole County and played basketball for him. That was fun. And then, like I said, moved over to Randolph Clay. I did football and tennis, and that was really about it.
So when you went to Valdosta State, did you go to be a teacher and coach? I mean, did you know that was always what you wanted to do, or did you try something first and then was like, eh?
So my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, we our senior year found out that we were expecting a kid. So I come over and we get married literally the day after she graduates. Okay. That was June 6th. We got married. We had our baby June 20th. And so I became husband and dad like right out of high school. Go to VSU, and I'm like, I want to be a teacher and a coach. My mom's an English teacher, great at writing and good at teaching writing and reading and all of those things. So I was like, I'm going to be an English teacher and a football coach. I'll always have a job because I can teach English. So I do that for a couple of years. And while I'm in college, I'm like, man, teachers and coaches don't make a lot of money. I want to do something that makes a lot of money. Like an idiot, I say, I'm going to go become a dentist. All right. I suck at science. I suck at math. I spent a half a semester in, I think it was biology 1107. And I found out real quick that I'm not a dentist. So screwed myself up there, kind of set back a little bit, but ended up going to the middle grades program, got a bachelor's in middle grades education with a concentration in English and social studies. Graduated, got started at Hayhire Middle doing special education, like co-teaching in small group, and fell in love with it.
So what was your first job out of college once you finished co-teaching at Hayhire?
Yeah, so Hayhire really was my first job. So I started volunteer coaching there as a 6th grade assistant coach. Andy Reichard gave me my first chance at coaching. He actually coached with my dad at Lanier, I want to say my sophomore or junior year. So I knew him from there, and I was working at Academy Sports while I was in college. And so he comes through, and I'm over in the golf section, just, looking like I'm rearranging putters. Really, I'm trying out the new putters, And he comes over, and he's like shopping for golf shoes. I was like, Coach, what's going on, And I was like, hey, what you up to? He said, well, I just got the middle school job at Hayhire. I said, well, if you need help coaching, like, I'd love to. He's like, okay. Well, then he kind of shops around. He circles back. He's like, hey, are you serious about coaching? I said, yeah. He goes, well, all I've got is a 6th grade spot. I said, okay. He's like, well, I don't know if I can pay you. I said, Okay. He's like, "You still wanna do it?" I said, "Yeah, let's go." And so, started out there as a volunteer. My 2nd year, they paid me like $1,000 to come coach, and then, my 3rd year, I got a full supplemented position. Was really I mean, talking about Georgia schools paying well, like a middle school supplemented position was $4,500, which is really, really good. I actually took like pay cut or supplement wise, I took a pay cut to come to Brooks as a varsity assistant, but just wanted the opportunity. So I did that throughout college, graduated, got a job working in special education there, did that for 2 years. Kind of realized that, hey, Lowndes County, big 7A program, they're not going to promote a middle school coach to come be a varsity assistant or even a JV assistant. I was like, let's see if we can find an opportunity somewhere. And I actually got linked up with Brandon Evans while he was at Brooks and got to meet Coach Freeman and work with him. And got hired on in 2019. I came over to Brooks County as a receivers coach.
So you started at Brooks in 19 as a receivers coach and then moved up from there. Y'all won a state championship, right?
Yeah.
While you were
So
there.
Yeah, so we played for my first 3 years, and, 2019 we played Dublin in the state championship. It's kinda cold, raining, we lose by 10. I wanna say it was like 42-32, something like that, and Coach Freeman, phenomenal mentor. I mean, just an insane wealth of knowledge with all the experience that he has. We get done with the season, he goes, "Young buck, it ain't always like this." He's like, "You're not always going to play 15 games a year." I said, "Yes, sir." And so we get back and we get after it. And so we end up moving down to single A and we're playing, we get through the playoffs and end up back in the state championship again. And we play Irwin and they beat us. And we get done with the season. He goes, "Well, young buck, I know last year this time I told you you don't always play 15 games a year, and we've done it twice now." He said, "I'm telling you, this stuff does not happen every year." He said, "Consider yourself lucky because you may never play for another one." I just said, "Yes, sir." Well, then 2021 rolls around and we were good and we knew it. And we ended up going, I think it was 12-2 because it was, you remember that COVID year, like teams are dropping and stuff. So we ended up dropping a game. So we ended up 12-2 and won the state championship against Irwin that year. So it was good to kind of get that revenge a little bit. And again, after that year, I just went to Coach Freeman. I said, "Coach, I know you've told me every year this isn't what we do." I said, "But I think this is just kind of what we do. Like, I think we just play 15 games a year." And so, like, man, I've been so blessed. We played for 3 in a row there. The next year, we got put out in the first round. The year after that, we made it to the semifinals with a freshman quarterback leading us there. And then Coach Freeman ended up leaving. My first year as a head football coach, we make it to a state championship appearance. And then last year, you get put out in the third round. Like, being at Brooks is so awesome because we have played so many games, and like it's good just to be a playoff contender, but to be a legitimate championship contender every year is amazing.
Yeah, that's something I've always we sit around and we talk about it and we're like, "Hey man, these teams that go deep every year, you gotta understand that by the time those kids are seniors, they've played almost 2 more seasons of football because
Yep.
they've played if they've made it to the finals, their freshman, sophomore, and junior
Mhm.
year, they've played 15 more games. That's a season and a half. And then if you make it
Yeah.
again, they've played another, 5 more games. So just
Yep.
in the playoffs, and it's invaluable what it does for your program, not only
Yeah.
from a morale standpoint, and this becomes the expectation, but I mean just getting those kids that extra time on the grass, the extra practices, and games that are like win or go home.
We literally call it stealing time. Our 8th grade kids, when they finish their middle school season, if they're not playing basketball, they're invited to come practice with us from the time they finish their season till the time we finish ours. So we had a big lineman in 2021 who was an 8th grader who, his older brother started as a freshman. He practiced with us from like week 8 all the way through week 15. So, I mean, there's 7 weeks of football practice that kid got before he even started his clock as far as a varsity player. And so, being able to get those guys running some scout team and going ahead and learning everything that we do, I mean, it's invaluable. Like it's amazing what it paid off for him because I mean he ends up winning a state or playing for another state championship down the road. So it was awesome.
Well, for those that don't know, tell everybody exactly where in the state Brooks County is, where it's located, and where you guys go when you need to go to Walmart.
Yeah. So if you travel on I-75, when you get to Valdosta, if you get off on exit 16, and you head west on 84. In about 15 minutes, you're going to end up in Quitman, Georgia. It is a huge metropolitan area. No, I'm kidding. It's a very, very small town. But it's awesome. We've got, Burger King, McDonald's, a Food Line, and a couple of local restaurants. If you need to go to Walmart, you either go over to Valdosta or you go to Thomasville. You're about 15, 20 minutes either way. But it's a great spot to be, man. There's beautiful, beautiful old houses, the old Victorian colonial style homes, and just really, really beautiful land out here. We got a great golf course, Quitman Country Club. Have you ever played Quitman Country Club?
I have not.
You got to get over here. It's wonderful. You got to come over for the Quitman Cup. Brandon Evans can tell you about that.
Well, I'll be on if y'all flight it to where there's the worst players flight, I might have a chance in that one. But
Come on, we'll be on the same team.
yeah, I just watched Grayson play today, and
Yeah,
apple trees make apples. Let's just say
that's
that.
right.
He enjoys it though. It's something he and I can do together, and it's fun. Well, another thing that most people might not know, or I hope they do if they're watching this or listening to this, is you are the originator of the bingo card for the clinics. And man, that's
Yeah,
one of the funniest things. I look forward to it every year in the way that you're able to change it up
yeah,
and add something new. And you just hit the nail on the head like every year with it. How'd you
dude.
come up with that?
All right, so a good friend of mine, Mitchell Donahue, he's actually the principal at Hayhire Middle now. But man, when we were young and fresh out of college, we would sit in PL meetings, faculty meetings, and all of these bullcrap things that they make teachers do. And we'd sit next to each other and we'd create a bingo card of like hot terms or somebody's going to do this. And like you put on, teacher ask a stupid question. They talk about growth. They talk about whatever. They hit all these, hot educational terms.
What's
And
your
so
why?
yeah, all of those things. So I guess it was 2019 or so. I went to like my first, I think it was the Nike clinic, and I went up with Kyle Wilson, who's another great coach and a good mentor of mine. And like, I just kind of was looking around. I was like, golly, like there's so many things that I don't think people realize are so cliche. I think it was the next year, like when we decided to head up to Glacier, I was like, I got to make a bingo card and let's see what it does. And man, that thing did numbers. That was awesome. And so I was like, well, let's just keep it up every year. And then I've had, I've been plagiarized a few times. Coach Kenny Simpson's plagiarized me a couple of times. I'm not afraid to call him out. He's got the hat with the whistle thing. I also did that before he did, but it is what it is. I didn't patent it. That's on me. No, I like Coach Simpson, but yeah, it's just a fun little thing. Like, and of all the bingo card things, I'm probably half of them. I'm gonna wear joggers. I'm gonna have BSN gear on. I'm gonna be the same brand head to toe. My O line coach is gonna be the one leaving the dip cup behind. So like, I can laugh at myself. So I'm gonna laugh
That's
at you
right.
too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you gotta be I mean, you can't take yourself too seriously. I mean,
Never.
we've got a job that our livelihood depends on 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds, sometimes 18-year-olds,
Yeah,
sometimes 19-year-olds, but still they're teenage boys.
that's right.
So, I mean, we gotta have fun where we can have fun. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, nobody can make fun of people like coaches can,
Oh, I'm telling
and we can make fun of each other better than
you.
anybody.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If you can't laugh at yourself, then that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a huge problem. So when you get down there and Coach Freeman comes in to retire, I mean, we all knew at some point in time he was going to retire. You know,
Yeah.
he won a state championship there, when he was younger. He's from there. He wins another one. For all intents and purposes, he could have stayed there till forever.
But yeah, I honestly like there were times at like practice where he just coached so hard. I was like, this guy's one day just going to have a heart attack on the field here in Quitman, and that's going to be the end of his career. Like I really believe that. But man, I loved every minute working with him. Working with him was fun. It was easy as far as time, as far as, communication and all those things. It was challenging because he was always pushing you to be better. And so, like, when I first got over, Coach Evans was really the number two guy. And so he and I always talked about, like, hey, whenever Freeman, steps down or dies on our sideline, like, Brandon Evans is going to step into the head role. I'm going to be his right hand man. And, like, we're just going to roll. Well, he ended up moving over to Ware County, and it's great for him and his family. Like, his family and my family are super, super close. And so, like, when he took that opportunity, I was sad and hurt, but then I was also very happy for my friend. And then I realized I'm now number two. I was like, I don't know if I like this. So I kind of started thinking, I was like, man, like, whenever he steps away, like, if they bring somebody else in, like, I don't know if I want to work for anybody else. So, man, I started working on my, like, administration stuff. I was like, I'm gonna have plan B. Freeman goes out. If they bring in somebody I don't like, then I'm just gonna say, hey man, I'm good. I'm gonna go be an assistant principal. You got my support, and let that be it because I had just kind of been accustomed to how we did things. And so, man, Freeman, he surprised a lot of people. He thankfully gave me a heads up a little bit going into his decision to fully retire from Georgia. And so when he did, he was like, "Look, I'm recommending you to replace me." He's like, do it what you want to. And I was like, oof. So at the time, my wife was working over at Lanier County because she had gone to school there from pre-K through graduation. Her mom taught there. So she was over there. My daughter was over there. And we sat down and talked. I said, look, this is becoming a real opportunity. I said, if I'm going to do this, I need you guys fully invested. I need you to move over with us and, come over. Haley's got to come over. And that's been the best thing for us because it's just been awesome. Like my daughter's on the sideline cheering for me. My wife's leading up our coach's wife's group, so it's just been really, really good. But yeah, man, the day that he announced it, and I mean, it was drinking out of a fire hose like day one, So it was actually, I mean, almost 2 years ago exactly. I think it was March 29th. We're getting ready to go into spring break, and he told our principal, told our AD, and told the team that he was retiring, going to move over to Alabama. Immediately, they told me, hey, look, do you want it? I said, yeah, let's go. And I got announced immediately after him retiring. So it was a seamless transition. Thankfully, there was really no real turnover after I took it. There was a couple of coaches that were leaving anyway. They had already told Coach Freeman that they weren't going to come back. So our staff was pretty much intact except for one or two pieces. So I got to bring in a couple of guys and, you can never emulate what somebody's done when they've got 30 plus years of experience. So I didn't try to do that. I had to make it my own. I've learned some hard lessons, done some things good, some things bad, and I've learned from both. But what's really great is that like I've got guys like Coach Freeman, I got guys like Zach Grage that I can call that have done it and say, hey, look, this is what I'm up against. How have you handled situations like this? What's the best move to make? And both of them give me really great advice. So it's been awesome. Like I've got a really, really good support system.
Yeah, following a legend is tough,
Oh
and
yeah.
Coach Mose, he's a legend. I mean, Bring the
Yeah.
Hammer, Bring the Hammer Clinic, all of that. I mean, he's just and not only legendary within the state of Georgia
Yeah.
by, so well respected by his peers, but just that community. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a homeboy. I mean, he's from there.
Yeah.
He's that's where he grew up. That's his hometown. So, I
Yeah.
mean, that's also that's like the hardest thing you could do. You stepped in and said, "Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Give me that one."
I was that sacrificial lamb, like, hey, yeah, I'll step up. Why not? Why not me?
Yeah, who wants to follow Coach Freeman at Brooks County? Right here. Here's your guy.
Why not?
Yeah. I mean, what's the worst thing that could happen? Well, you play for a state championship, what, the first year? Yeah.
So I
Yeah. So,
had
I mean, there's that.
they gave it to me with an interim tag because it was like so quick and it was really kind of late in the year to hire a new coach. And so Coach Grades came and sat with me. He's like, all right, look, they're going to give it to you on an interim basis. As long as you have a good year, they'll probably remove the interim tag. I doubt they're going to open it up. They may not. He's like, but house money, go play. I said, okay. And so we went out and like it was really kind of stressful because my wife is like, man, we've moved over here. If they don't give this to you, like we're going to have to leave and go somewhere else. Like, what are we going to do? And I was like, yeah, we'll figure it out. We win in overtime at Manchester in the semifinals. Won it on a field goal and 17-14. And we get done there. As I'm like on the field, Coach Grades comes up to me. He's like, great news. They're removing the interim tag. Congratulations. I was like, oh, awesome. Thank you. He should have waited one more week because if he had waited until after I played the state championship, either A, they could have gotten somebody better, or B, we might would have won the state championship because maybe I got comfortable when he told me that I officially had the job. And I don't know. We'll never know. Like they probably were a little bit early on it. So, but no, it worked out really, really good. And like I said, man, I love being here. It's an amazing place to be.
All right. Well, hey, coaches, if your team needs to raise money, check out Scoreboard Fundraising. In the past year, they've helped more than 1,000 teams across the Southeast run simple effective fundraisers from popcorn to online donations. Call Mike James at 770-680-3424 or visit scoreboardfundraising.com. A lot of teams I know are using these guys. Again, that's Mike James at 770-680-3424. And as I say every episode, they're good people, great guys. They're our title sponsor for the 100 episodes next 4 seasons. And we do appreciate that. And they're also most of the guys that work for them are old coaches or they have coached or they're currently still coaching. and it's a side gig for them, but they do a great job. They know what we go through. They know what we deal with. So if you need to get anything in the fundraising realm, check out Scoreboard Fundraising. All right, so you take over. It's your first head coaching job. You got to kind of put your own stamp on it. What were some things you kept the same? What are some things that you were like, yeah, I want to change this? I mean, I'm sure there's some things there you can't change,
Yeah, well,
traditional things, but there,
yeah.
you might have been like, I kind of want to try this idea, see how that works.
Yeah, well, there's first and foremost, there are a ton of traditions at Brooks County. Obviously, we have the BC3 that we honor every Friday. Those were the three teenage kids that passed away back in 2013 in a tragic car accident. So before every game, we've got a hammer now. It used to be a cross at our old locker room and old facility. But we go out, we circle up, we pray, and we recognize them. We recognize Coach Mitchell, who was a legend here, Coach Marvin Mitchell. So we kept all of our traditions and our rituals the same. Some things that I changed was like day one, I told our staff, I said, look, Coach Freeman did a lot. He did everything. I'm not Coach Freeman. I can't shoulder everything that he did. I said, now I'll talk to parents. You don't have to talk to parents. That he was always big on that. He said, you'll never have to talk to a parent. And I didn't until I became a head coach. I said, but, like this, he got the water out, he did the laundry, anything that needed to be done, he did it. And it was true servant leadership. And so I said, look, I'm all about servant leadership. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not doing everything that he did. And so there was a lot of delegation. And I had to learn pretty quickly, like, hey, delegate a lot of things and then delegate a little bit more because as the head coach, you don't know what's going to pop up. You don't know what you're going to be dealing with. And so, that was good. And that kind of helped grow our staff up a little bit because I had a couple of young guys that I brought in. And so they've learned to do some things. And then, his game day demeanor is a little bit different than mine. I'm usually pretty social and I like to be loose. I don't like to be uptight. You talk to Coach Freeman on a game day, like you might get punched in the face. Like he's just a mean dude, Like he and I had a relationship to where if it's just me and him in a room, like we'd cut up a little bit, but around the kids, it was stone face killer, and you better not mess with them. So my game day routine's a little bit more. I don't want to say relaxed, but just a little more loose, a little bit more like, hey, let's get ready to have fun and play a good game. And so that was a little bit different. But other than that, like I tried to keep as much intact as I could so that our kids felt, that normalcy. They felt the same vibe as far as like, hey, this is still Brooks County. We still play to win. We still hit you in the mouth. We're still bringing the hammer. So that was kind of it. But yeah, I think just probably the biggest thing was delegating and putting more on our staff as a whole because he shouldered so many things that like I didn't know until I got into that role.
Yeah, we say that all the time on here that you don't really understand the phone calls, the texts, everything that the head coach deals with. And that's why it's imperative. That means very important that the assistant coaches always do all the other stuff that you can
Yeah.
do because there's some things that as a head coach that you and only you can deal with. And we can't deal with it as assistants. But what we can do is we can clean up, we can set up the field, we can do the
Right.
laundry, we can make sure the kids have a ride home. We can take care of all of that other stuff because we really don't have any idea of what you're doing with administration, what you're doing with fundraising,
Mhm.
what you're doing in the community until you come and tell us, "Hey, I need you to help me with this."
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the hardest thing to me is to delegate and say, "Hey, I need you to do this for me. I need you to do this for me. I need you to do this for me." And then have that, sense of accountability like, "Hey, look, man, we got to do better with this," or, "You're doing a
Yeah.
great job. Keep it up. I appreciate it." Because it's hard, especially younger coaches. It's hard for them to understand that part of their job is doing stuff that you might think is grunt work or you may think is beneath you, but it is necessary for the running of the entire program.
Yeah, it really is. And my middle brother Caleb, he actually just came into a head job as well over at Chatco, working with Coach Mike Nash, who tragically ended up passing away. But, he and I talk a lot. And when he first stepped into that role, he's like, tell me what I don't know. And I said, you don't know what you don't know. I said, that's the only thing I can tell you. Like, I don't even know what I don't know. Like, it's just, you don't know what you're walking into. Yeah, he called me one day. It was early into him getting the head job over there. And he was like, hey, do you enjoy this? And I was like, sometimes. And he was like, do you think the money's worth it? And I said, no. He goes, and why do you do it? I said, I really don't know. I love it, I guess. It's not something like it's not fun every day. It's not something that, you're going to, be so excited to go deal with that mama or that daddy who thinks their kid should be starting, or that teacher who's picking on little Johnny when really little Johnny's kind of being a butthole in class. I was like, I said, you just, every day's a different fire that you got to go put out. But you show up and you do it because you love it. You love kids, and that's ultimately why you do it. But yeah, I mean, I didn't know what I didn't know, and stepping into it and figuring it out as I go. Like one of the first things I said to Freeman after he had left, I said, "Man, you didn't tell me all this." He goes, "Well, you never asked." I said, "I didn't know to ask." I'm like, "I'm sorry."
Yeah. Yeah, even the fact that you're a coach's kid and
Oh
both your
yeah.
parents were in education forever, you know, even then, you're sheltered from a lot of it because it's
Hmm.
not most people try to separate that when they get home because it's totally different universe, so, I mean, it's not like, your dad sat you down and said, "Alright, here's a list of things that" I'm sure when you need to, he can tell
Hmm.
you, "Hey, watch out for this, look out for that," 'cause he was so successful for so long, and it's just, nobody ever like you said, you don't know what to ask. You don't know until something
Yeah.
crazy happens, you're like, "There's no manual," I don't
Yeah.
you start looking,
Yeah.
"Well, I'm, dealing with," well, "Yeah, no, no, that's not in here. How do I get
Yeah.
that done?"
Well, and, like, I never really understood, like, watching my dad, like, he'd get really excited talking about new plays or scheme or something, and I'd be like, "Why is he really like that?" And then same thing with Coach Grades, like, whenever we'd go talk to him about because he was there, Freeman's last year, and I was the offensive coordinator, and so we would talk scheme, he'd get so excited to talk scheme, I was like, "Man, why is he so excited about this?" But the reason why is because as the head coach, you don't get to do that very often. Like, you don't sit there and game plan a ton as far as like, "Ooh, they're gonna do this, and we're gonna do this. This is a good play." It's so many other things, like, you gotta have good coordinators to do that, so that, few minutes where they get to stop thinking about all the other things and say, "Hey, look, this is a really good unbalanced formation. We run power, like, this is how you can run power out of it. We got a million different ways we're gonna run power." Like, just getting excited about those things, like, I get it now. Like, I see why that's so exciting because you don't do it that often.
Now, you're at Brooks County are y'all still in single A, or did y'all get bumped up to double A?
So, we're going up to double A. I think we may be the smallest double A school. We're kinda on that line, and like I told our players, I said, "Look, when you look at the schedule, it's the same people we've been playing non-region, and, some of them will beat us, and we beat some of them, but at the end of the day, you go back in the last 7 years that I've been here, every team that's on our schedule that we have played at some point, we've beaten at some point in time." So, like, it's Brooks County. Like, our kids they don't know what single A versus 7A is. I mean, they do, but they don't, and we've got Worth County returning state champion. We open up with them. We play Pierce County, who's always tough. We got Crisp, who's always tough. We've got TCC as a non-region game. And so, like, our kids they're excited about playing TCC. Like, hey, big returning state champion. Like, they're rolling like a daggum college over there, all the resources in the world. And our kids are like, hey, man, we're scrappy. We're playing with a chip on our shoulder, and we're going to give you everything we got. It's exciting to coach those kind of kids. And then, in 2019, when I first got here, we were double A. We were in the region with Thomasville, Fitzgerald. I think Berrien was in that region. Aiken and Jeff Davis weren't. And then we've always played Cook. And so it's all very familiar teams that we've played, and our kids have confidence that they can go in and beat the Green Bay Packers if they were to play them. So why not play
Well,
TCC and all those teams?
that's right. Hey, teeth don't get strong eating oatmeal.
That's right.
And, non-region schedules important, and people some people take different approaches on that. They may go light and to try to ease into it and have one. Some people go, but when you're Brooks County, it's not like people are knocking down the door to play you the non-region. But the
I had
reason
a
I asked
map.
Go ahead.
I had a map where I was calling schools, and if they told me no, it was red X. If they told me yes, it was a green check. Just about everything south of Macon is red X because nobody wants to play us because we're traditionally pretty good. And like I understand that, but I'm like, man, I'm gonna be young this year. And they're like, yeah, no, coach, you're young. Ain't everybody's young? And I'm like, I get it. And it was tough trying to build a schedule. And then people are asking me like, hey, with PSR, with the power rankings the way they are, why are you building this schedule this way? And I'm like, I don't have any other option. I'm sorry. Nobody else wanted to play us but Worth and Pierce and Crisp and TCC. So it's tough, but we like it.
Well, the reason I asked that was to segue into the fact that spring football is coming up, and you're at a smaller program that's traditionally it's either single A or it's the very smallest AA school. And even though your numbers are outstanding for a smaller program because of the success y'all have had, you're still having to share athletes and all that other,
Mhm.
everything else. Like every other small school, you're sharing coaches, you're sharing athletes.
Yeah.
So what's your approach to spring and how do you guys do spring in Brooks County?
I mean, we're going to use our 13 days to get 10 practices in. We're going to play against Bainbridge. And then thankfully, like the guys that we're sharing, our coaches of other sports, they understand the kind of, where things are paid for, to be honest. And they understand that, hey, football at Brooks County is what's important. And, we've got a couple of guys that play baseball. Our baseball coach, Trent Vish, is awesome. And he understands that, like, hey, these guys are football players first. And so he lets them come on and work with us. And then we've got some guys that are running track, and our track coach is a football coach. And like our kids run track to get better for football. I've got a handful of kids that, coach, I'm going to go run track. I'm going to practice with them, but I don't want to go to the meets because I just don't feel like riding all the way to Charlton County or whatever. I said, look, man, that's between you and the track coach. But as long as you out there running and getting faster, and that's up to y'all. But like when spring football starts, track stops. Like our kids could care less about going to an area meet or to a state meet, any of those things. They care about football. So that's good to have that as a priority for them and for our coaches. But it works out really, really well for us. And growing up over in Cuthbert, North Clay is a basketball school. Boys and girls basketball has always been really, really good. Quitman is very much like Cuthbert. The difference is this: on a Saturday afternoon or during the summer, you ride around Cuthbert, Georgia, and you're going to see kids out shooting hoops. You ride around Quitman on a Saturday or a Sunday or during the summer or spring break, whatever, kids are in a field somewhere playing 7-on-7. They're doing cone work. They're working ball drills. My practice field looks like crap because there are people on it 24/7. They're tearing my grass up, but they're out there getting cone work and they're playing football. And I mean, every weekend is, Coach, can we get a game ball? No. So one of the best things that I've, like, they kept asking me that, and then they found out where I hit them, so they try to steal them. I've got all of our footballs in my house right now. And when a kid, they asked me the other day, like, Coach, can I get a ball? I said, man, what's crazy is I just sent them off for reconditioning. Sorry, like I don't even have footballs right now. So, but that's the difference. Like our kids love football. They walk around town carrying a football because they never know when a game's going to pop up. So, it's really, really great that, when we get into spring, like our kids are chomping at the bits for it.
So how do you approach spring? Like what are you trying to get out of spring?
Man, we worry about us. Like, we're gonna play Bainbridge. We're not gonna, like, I'll talk to Bainbridge's coach and say, "Hey, look, here's our base of defense. These are our base offensive formations." He'll give me the same info, but it's about teaching our kids who we are, what we do. I want to find physicality. I want to find kids that, I call them diamonds in the rough, like that kid that you don't really think, maybe he's a player, maybe he's not, and then you find one or two that step up. And like I challenge each of my coaches, like, look, in your group, I need you to find somebody that you don't think could contribute and figure out that they actually can contribute. And so I just trying to identify a few players that can play for us. And like, we want to see physicality. We want to get our base in offense installed, base defense installed. And that's really it. Like, let's just focus on, taking 10 days to make us better.
Yeah, I talked to Coach Andy Woodard at Edmund Burke Academy the episode before this one,
Mm,
and, they have 20, 22 kids, and he talked about how, you gotta learn how to coach with smaller numbers because those
mhm.
kids that wouldn't normally be a role player or be a special teams player or have to sub in and be on the backside of an unbalanced formation just to occupy somebody and run an out route, that kid may not look like what you would think you put out there, but sometimes at smaller schools, where you find them is in spring football practice.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And it's, talking about focusing on us and all of those things. So my first year, I get here for spring in the spring of 2019, and we go over and we play Coffee County. And I can't remember if we beat them or not, but it was close. And I was like, dang, like we're hanging with Coffee County. The next year we go play them, kind of the same thing, back and forth. So we played Coffee for, I think it was my first 4 years here. Well, the third year that I was here, we beat them, and we probably shouldn't have. And Coach Co, I love Coach Co to death. I think he's a phenomenal coach. But the next year, we go over to play them, and these jokers, they come out in like a regular formation. They run the ball, then they go tempo, hop into unbalance. And I'm like, oh, Lord, we're in unbalance in the spring game. They run a play, they gash us. They go from unbalance to 5 wide, and they gash us again. Then they jump into something. They just boom, 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 and they march right down the field and beat us. And Coach James Glenn was our first year DC. That was his first game with us, and Coach Freeman's, still there. And Glenn goes, "Hey, do you want me to make an adjustment to this? Because all we got in is base." But he's like, "I could throw one in." And Freeman said, "No, let him get his rocks off. He's pissed about last year. They beat the mess out of us. It was terrible." But we're not playing a spring game to try to go out coach somebody or beat somebody. Like, we want to put in a handful of things and see our kids execute it. And talking about the clinic that you just put on or the retreat that you just put on with the coaches, like, it was so great for me hearing schools that are similar in size and that have two-way players and even two-way coaches. Like, we don't have much of that, but we got a lot of two-way players, and seeing how they do practice and how they do spring. Like, I'm changing some of what we're doing based off of what I heard at your clinic. It's great being able to get that network and sit down with our coach and say, "Hey, look, this is what these guys are doing, and it works really well for them. So let's find a way to make it work for us."
What does summer look like in Brooks County? How do you do your summer program?
Yeah, so we're gonna go. Last year we did Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for the whole summer. This year we're gonna go Monday through Thursday, June and July. We get them there at 8, and we're done about 11:30. We'll feed them breakfast, and we're gonna hit the weight room. We'll hit the field, and it's not a whole lot of time doing either of those, but it's extremely efficient. So we'll get done somewhere between 11:30 and 12. Give them a lunch, and then send them home. And once our kids are gone, coach is gone. Like, if it's in the summer and you're at the field house past 12:30, that's your fault. Like, take a kid home or quit hanging out up here. Like, I don't want to take your time away from you. And so I was actually talking to my basketball coach this morning, and we were talking about kind of what we want to do. And I said, with us adding a day, and I'm really only doing that so I can feed them. Like, that to me is more important than getting the weight room in the field. Like, we've got protein that we're giving them. We got good meals that our cafeteria prepares. And so I want to get them there 4 days a week to make sure they got food and make sure we're still hitting the weight room. But Thursdays may just be hey, we're going to eat, we're going to lift weights. And then, 10:30, I want everybody gone. But I try to give our coaches as much of a weekend as I can. Like, I want you to be able to leave Thursday afternoon, go to the beach, hang out, fall asleep on the beach, and wake up Sunday and come back. And so that's kind of what we try to do. I try to give them as much time as I can. Again, going back to working with Coach Freeman, he was really, really good at never having burnout on his staff or in our team. And so, like, I try to find that balance of getting the most out of all of our people, but also not working them to death to where, you get into week 12 and 13 and your guys are saying, "Man, I'm ready for this to be over."
So how do y'all, I mean, you OTA, 7-on-7, how I mean, because when you're down in where you are, and I don't know if most people understand this, you're not exactly surrounded by other schools of your size.
No,
So when
yeah.
you 7-on-7 or you OTA, you're going against fairly
Oh, yeah.
larger schools than what
We
what you can put out there.
Yeah, we go against the big boys. I think in June, we're going to Lee County to work with them. And actually, Coach Fabrizio just sent a text to me a second ago. But yeah, we're going to go OTA with Lee County in June. And then in July, we'll go to Lowndes and we'll do, 2 days with each of them. The good thing about both of those OTAs is they kind of set it up to where there's some big schools and some smaller schools. So we kind of get a taste of each, and that's good for our kids. And then 7-on-7, we'll host one or two. Thomas County Central, they always host the whole month of June. Every Tuesday, they've got 7-on-7s. And so we'll do some of that where we'll go and we'll play over there. And then, like, our kids, they love 7-on-7. So the past 2 years, we've gone to some colleges. My first year as head coach, we went to Florida and Florida State. Last year, we went to Georgia and Georgia Tech. This year, I don't know where we're going to go. Talking to Coach Grage, he said the favorite one that he's ever done was South Alabama. He said they did 7-on-7. They went to the beach, hung out for the rest of the day, and then came home that night. So that may be what we end up doing.
So you're not an old head by any stretch of the imagination, because that would make me dead. But you've been in the game a long time as a coach's kid, ball boy on the sideline. So I think you're more than qualified to answer this question. What are some things, if you remember from when you were a kid and watching your dad and your uncles at work to now about the high school game that's changed, that when you were a kid, you were like, "Oh, it used to not be that way." Like,
Yeah,
you literally can look back and go, "It wasn't this way," because you
yeah,
remember. So what are some
yeah.
things about the Georgia high
There's
school games that's just changed?
it's changed a ton. I think first and foremost, when you look at scheme and what people are doing, like, I cut my teeth in the wing tee. Like, I love running the trap. I love running buck sweep. I love the wing tee. If I ever left Brooks, I might would become a wing tee guy. But seeing the scheme, people kind of spreading it out, and that's just kind of the ebb and flow of the game anyway. It goes through cycles and changes and whatnot. But that's probably the biggest thing that I've seen is just the tempo of the game and what people are doing and the complexity. We're a big RPO team, and like to me, that's just triple option. Like it's the same triple option that you can run from a double wing set. You're just pitching it a lot wider. So there's those things, and then just the kids have changed a ton. And this isn't me complaining. This is just stating a fact. Like I remember watching my dad and my uncles. I mean, coach the mess out of some kids, and it just eye contact, yes sir. Because if I argue with this coach, my mama or my daddy or my auntie, uncle, grandma, granddaddy, somebody's gonna come beat my tail because I didn't do what I was supposed to do. And now you see it in the classroom, you see it on the field as well. Like, we don't have this problem so much because we're kind of isolated. But last year I was talking to some guys at Glazier and talking about how we coach our kids hard. And one of the coaches says, "Coach, I'm up here in Atlanta. If I do what you just did or what you said you just did, that kid's leaving and he's transferring somewhere else." He's like, "How do you handle that?" I said, "I ain't got to deal with that." Thankfully at Brooks County, I can still, coach a kid really hard and tell him where he's messed up and chew his butt out. And I've still got the support of mom, dad, uncle, whoever. But we're one of the last few places like that because it's crazy. Like there's definitely recruiting going on. There's definitely kids looking elsewhere, and the mobility that these kids have and the ability to just up and leave and go to another school. It's real. It's really real. And I didn't see my dad dealing with that. I didn't see us dealing with it a lot when I first got into coaching. I mean, I started 2012 working in middle school coaching and really kind of shadowing the varsity staff. That really wasn't a thing, but that's definitely become a thing now. And so, and then player motivation. Like, I think our kids nowadays, it's very self-centered. And, growing up, my dad's also a pastor. Growing up in the church, like one of the things that, I tell our kids all the time is the world's going to tell you to put yourself first and worry about you and take care of you and love yourself. And I was like, man, that's the most demonic message that you can hear. You better learn to pour into others and work with others and grow others. I said, that's why I'm here. I said, if I love myself more than I love you, then like I'm not going to be a football coach. I'll go make more money doing something else. I said, but you got to learn to devote your life to making others around you better and working as a group and as a team. And so like just player motivation. So many of them are motivated by, I've got to get an offer. If I'm not getting offers, then it's obviously coach's fault. Like the fact that I'm 5'6", 175 pounds, run a 5 flat or forever, like I should be the running back, right? No, like that's not how that works. And so it's tough dealing with that. And, you got a lot of guys, head coaches wise, that pour into like, hey, you come here, you're going to get an offer. Like, no, man, that's not it. Like, high school sports is so much more than just getting offers.
Well, coach, you've done a great job of putting others first and learned from one of the best to ever do it. And your father and your whole family's just great people. And
Thank you.
the mentorship that you got from Coach Freeman. And you come a long way since we were playing Madden on Nintendo back in '01, '02.
That's
But
right.
I sure do appreciate you coming on and sharing your story with us.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, coach.
Yes, sir.